大家好，今天是2025年3月27日，我们来看一下当地时间3月26日，美国总统特朗普在白宫签署行政令，宣布对所有进口汽车征收25%的关税，相关措施将于4月2日生效。特朗普称，汽车关税将会是永久的。他表示，如果在美国制造汽车，则无需缴纳关税。特朗普称，特斯拉的首席执行官埃隆·马斯克没有对汽车关税发表过任何建议，也没有从中要求获得任何益处。特朗普当天还称，美国将会对木材和药物征收关税。我们来看一下这个特朗普的发言啊。
We just celebrated Women's Day at the White House. It was fantastic, attended by a lot of great women. All women are great. So this is the beginning of Liberation Day in America. We're going to take back just some of the money that has been taken from us by people sitting behind this desk or another desk that's not quite as nice, but they have their choice of 7, as you know. And we're going to charge countries for doing business in our country and taking our jobs, taking our wealth, taking a lot of things that they've been taking over the years. They've taken so much out of our country. Friend and foe, and frankly, friend has been oftentimes much worse than foe. And this is very modest. And what we're going to be doing is a 25% tariff on all cars that are not made in the United States. If they're made in the United States, there's absolutely no tariff. We start off with a 2.5% base, which is what we were at, and we go to 25%. And basically, as you know, and as you've been saying, not reporting as accurately as it should be reported because it's a massive story. Business is coming back to the United States so that they don't have to pay tariffs. And I think also because of November 5th, the election, they're very happy. AI is coming back to levels that nobody's ever seen before. It's a new, sort of a new business, I guess, when you think about it. But it's plants are going up all over the United States, and many of them have already been started. We're getting early electricity taken care of. We're getting permits very quickly for them, and we're going to make their life very happy. They're coming in with tens of billions of dollars. Individual plants will cost 10, 15, even $20 billion. We're going to let them build electricity generating plants along with their plant, and they can't even believe it, and we're going to get them very quick permits, as I've done always. I did that in Louisiana with 2 LNG plants. I got them one permit in 1 day after waiting 14 years and the other one in 1 week after waiting for 12 years. But this is very exciting to me. This is the automobile industry, and this will continue to spur growth like you haven't seen. Before I was elected, we were losing all of our plants. They were being built in Mexico and Canada and other places. Now those plants largely have stopped, and they're moving them to our country. And Indiana, the great state of Indiana, I love Indiana. Honda is building one of the biggest plants anywhere, and they've just started. They wouldn't have done it without this. In all cases, they wouldn't have done it without what we're doing. So we'll effectively be charging a 25% tariff. But if you build your car in the United States, there is no tariff. And what that means is a lot of foreign car companies, a lot of companies are going to be in great shape because they've already built their plant, but their plants are underutilized, so they'll be able to expand them inexpensively and quickly. But others will come into our country and build, and they're already looking for sites. They're looking for mostly sites. They don't want to take the old buildings that are empty and falling down. They want to build new, and there's tremendous action. There is likewise for other companies and countries, like the chip making process. Your chip bill was a disaster done by Biden. All he does is give tremendous amounts of billions of dollars to chip companies that will do nothing with the money. They're not going to use the money here. They're going to just keep it. They have plenty of money. The one thing they have is they have a lot of money. In our case, all we're doing is saying you can't come in unless you build here. And the largest chip company by far is manufacturer from Taiwan is building here, and it'll give us almost 40% of the chip market just with that. They're spending almost $200 billion in the United States to build a plant, and they've almost started. They'll be doing much of the work in Arizona. So we have a lot of exciting things, but to me, this is one of the most exciting. Now, outside of one specific day, and that's Liberation Day. That's the real Liberation Day of America, and that's going to be in April 2nd. And I look forward to it. We'll have a little news conference. We'll talk about it. But this is very exciting. So we're signing a executive order today that's going to lead to tremendous growth in the automobile industry. As you know, the electric mandate that we did allows you to buy a car now with electric or gasoline powered or hybrid. You can buy any car you want. We had it so that within a short period of time, you had to buy all electric, and the country could never provide the money necessary to build all of those power plants that you would need all over the country. As you know, in the Middle West, they built 8 power stations. That's like the size of this desk or smaller. And they ended up spending $9 billion on 8. And of the 8, 4 of them didn't work. And we're not doing that. So you can buy electric, or you can buy gasoline, or you can buy hybrid, or you can buy whatever you want to buy. And that's the way it should be. The market's going to determine that. And you're going to see prices going down, but it's going to go down specifically because they're going to buy what we're doing, incentivizing companies to, and even countries, but companies to come into America and build. And we're already setting records for new plants. I think the new plant number, the tally is just within a period of a few weeks. It's very large. I want to be accurate. It's very large. And I'd like to ask Will just to come and give some of the basics, and then I'll sign it. And it's off to the races. I think our automobile business will flourish like it's never flourished before. Yes, please, Will.
Thank you, sir. As you stated, we've prepared for your attention a proclamation imposing a 25% tariff on foreign-made cars and light trucks. This is in addition to tariffs that are already in place on those goods. In addition to, as you said, spurring increased domestic manufacture of cars and trucks, we expect that these tariffs will result in over $100 billion of new annual revenue to the United States of America in tariff revenue.
I think ultimately we could probably anywhere from $600 billion to $1 trillion will be taken in over the relatively short-term period, meaning a year from now, but starting right away. I think we'll go from 600 to $1 trillion within 2 years. And I think we'll be right from the beginning, we're going to be at a very high number, right from the beginning. And right from the beginning, you're going to have a lot of construction jobs, but you're also going to have a lot of automobile jobs. So this is very exciting, but it's also exciting because of what's happening with other aspects. We're going to be doing tariffs on pharmaceuticals in order to bring our pharmaceutical industry back. We don't make anything here in terms of drugs, medical drugs, different types of drugs that you need, medicines. It's in other countries, largely made in China, a lot of it made in Ireland. Ireland was very smart. We love Ireland. But we're going to have that. We're going to have lumber. We're going to free up some of our land. And you'll be able to meet a lot of other standards like fire cuts. If Los Angeles had fire cuts, which they didn't have, that's a gap of half a football field between areas. You wouldn't have had the fires. They would have been contained. But you have fire cuts. And by the way, you sell that wood for a lot of money, a lot of profit is made from that. But we're going to be doing lumber. We're freeing up our land so that we don't have to use outside sources of lumber. Energy, we're doing fantastically well at. The energy prices have been coming down rapidly as we increase supply, and we've already done that. Chris and Doug are doing a fantastic job in that. That's Department of Energy and Department of Interior. And they're working together hand in hand because Interior has the land and Energy has the ability to do the drilling and do what they have to do. Our coal areas are going to be opened up for clean, beautiful coal. Germany's opening up many coal plants now. They tried the wind and it didn't work. They almost went out of business. They almost went bankrupt. They tried wind, which is a disaster because it's too expensive and it doesn't look good, kills all the birds, a lot of problems. But Germany is now building a lot of coal plants. China is building one a week. Think of that. And they're using coal, which is very powerful. Coal is a very powerful energy. And we're opening up our coal mines again, and we're going to do, I call it.
我们接着来看一下这个政令啊，彭博是怎么说的？对中国、对德国、对大家的影响。
For a 25% tariff on auto imports taking effect next Wednesday. Let's take a listen.
What we're going to be doing is a 25% tariff on all cars that are not made in the United States. If they're made in the United States, there's absolutely no tariff. We start off with a 2.5% base, which is what we were at, and we go to 25%.
So Bloomberg senior editor Derek Warbank joins us now, along with our China correspondent Min Min Lo. Derek, let's start with you. What do we know so far when it comes to autos and pharma?
Well, I think in the auto sector, there's a couple of key things that are worth noting, and one of those is that this doesn't just apply to automobiles as fully assembled. It also applies to auto parts as well. That was something that was being very closely watched. Now, the details of how this is going to work, particularly within the context of the North American supply chain, is something that still is a little bit in the works. There are a lot of parts that are shipped between the U.S. and Canada and the U.S. and Canada and Mexico and et cetera, back and forth in the production of some of these vehicles. And so how that's going to be treated is something to see going forward. But you only have to look at the aftermarket impacts to GM and Ford and Stellantis and et cetera to see, and then as well the Asian reaction to some of those car makers to see the effects on this. It's going to be pronounced. This is, look, Rebecca, this is a clear test run in terms of what April 2nd may look like, April 3rd in Asia. There is going to be an awful lot of action across a whole range of trade relationships, countries, products, etc. And look, we've been talking for a long time about whether people should take Donald Trump seriously or literally or whatever. I have long said he may not go as far as the most maximalist of threats, but he's not going to do nothing either. And this 25% tariff on autos for two of the U.S.'s closest trade partners is a really clear confirmation of that.
Derek, what have we heard from counterparts like the Canadians, Mark Carney, and have we also heard from the Europeans on this?
Yeah, Ursula von der Leyen came out and had comments. Mark Carney came out and had comments. They are what you would expect, disappointed, etc. It remains to be seen exactly how there will be a counterpunch, if there will be a counterpunch from some of these places. Certainly the Canadians are working on options there. Doug Ford, the Premier of Ontario, was talking about that as well. I think that there was some question of what the U.S. would wind up doing if there were going to be loopholes, things like that. So we didn't necessarily, walking into this action, see a lot of countries say, here's exactly what we will do. It was something where they were going to see what the U.S. was going to do, and then they were going to respond. That's kind of where we are right now, awaiting the details of what those responses may be. But look, make no mistake, there is going to be a massive amount of complication. You know, David, you know well, I'm an adopted Michigander. I've lived, close to that bridge connecting Detroit and Michigan, and there's a whole lot of commerce that flows over that. People, who live in Windsor, Ontario, who work in Detroit, and vice versa. Those two economies are as connected as any two international places on the map, and this is going to be a major, major complication in that relationship that is very, very intertwined.
Derek, thanks. And the other sort of big part of the conversation that we haven't mentioned yet here is China, of course. And Min, it does look like potentially there may be some reprieve, that Donald Trump may offer some room for negotiation on tariffs, particularly to secure a deal.
Yes, I think we are all very excited and waiting with bated breath to see what the final tariffs would look like and what that deal could be, because Trump is saying he's willing to trade off those tariffs in exchange for getting Beijing support to sell TikTok. And remember, that deadline is April 5th, which is the end of next week. So we're counting down. Trump is saying he's confident he will be able to secure the outline of a deal, and if not, he will be able to get another extension. Previously, the TikTok was supposed to be divested in mid-January, and at the last minute, Trump managed to get this extension by 90 days. And Trump said he has been speaking with 4 potential bidders. He didn't name names, but we know that previously there had been groups of investors that had indicated their interest, including a group led by Frank McCourt, the billionaire, also another group involving Mr. Beast, that YouTuber. And Oracle could also throw its hat into the ring. But look, this week you have Steve Daines in Beijing saying that no trade talk could really begin unless China commits to stopping the flow of fentanyl. Earlier today, you have Zhu Min, the former managing director of IMF, saying at the Boao Forum that China must be prepared for a trade war. So really hard to say how this negotiation will go. I guess we'll have to wait for next week.
看一下加拿大总统对这个关税政策的直接反击啊。
Lana and I were just having a meeting, a pre-scheduled meeting, to discuss the situation in our economy, how we can work together across a range of industries, forestry, aerospace, automobiles, and beyond. During the course of that meeting, President Trump announced 25% tariffs against our auto industry. And this is a direct attack, to be clear, a direct attack on the very workers that I stood in front of. You know, this will hurt us, but through this period, by being together, we will emerge stronger. I think what's happened, and this was part of our discussion, over the course of the last several months, Canadian workers, Canadians as a whole across this country, have gotten over the shock of the betrayal and are learning the lessons. We have to look out for ourselves, and we have to look out for each other.
川普加了关税之后，当天加拿大总理卡尼也表示，加拿大将很快对美国新加征的汽车关税做出反应，并可能采取报复性的关税。卡尼说他确信很快就会与特朗普通话。他说这个特朗普宣布汽车关税是对加拿大工人的直接攻击，对德国对美国都有影响啊。也有网友评论说，下一个政策没出来之前就是永久，静观其变。有人说这个在美国国内生产的价格比加了关税还要贵啊，是这样吗？不太清楚啊。人美国的小宝贝们可以这个评论一下，行吧？今天就到这里，谢谢大家。